Hello. So yeah, today I want to talk about tropes because tropes are tropes. Troperific. Well, yes, but mainly because I have finished reading my 3 copies. What? My copies of Jennifer Hill's The Trope Thesaurus, The Trope Thesaurus 4, and The Trope Thesaurus Romance. And if my pronunciation of English words is a little off for you, I would apologize, except I don't believe in apologizing how I pronounce words because English is not my first language and there will never be a time that I will pronounce things perfectly. Because I've learned, I've started this language. You all do not agree with one another. Like, just taking England, okay, off topic, but just taking England as an example. The English do not agree with one another. They do not agree with the Welsh, the Irish, or the Scottish. Then you have Australian English, you have African English, various African English, New Zealand, so many. And not even dipping into the pool that is all the North American accents. You all do not agree with one another, so I generally do not feel the need to apologize for how I pronounce words because you do not agree on how to pronounce the word, so I don't know which way to go. Apart from that, my accent, can't really apologize for it because, again, I am Icelandic. Anyway, off on tangent. I don't know if I'm going to keep that in edit, but we'll see. Tropes. I love them. Like a lot of people, turns out, because as it turns out, someone actually made books about them. That would be Jennifer Hilt, who I believe self-published. I think I'm fairly positive. Found these on Amazon, like quite a lot of other interesting books. Say what you will, but you can find very interesting things on Amazon that you regretfully cannot anywhere else. And Jennifer Hill's books are one of them. So, tropes, what are they? Well, they're not the same thing as genres, that's for sure. You know what, I'm probably gonna be a little bit chaotic in this video, but that's fine. That's fine. So I've been seeing for the past weeks, at least, on YouTube, people talking about how readers, in particular readers on TikTok, talk about books, talk about stories, how they sell on the stories that they like and that they are reading by using trope language. They're using, like the soulmates, destined lovers, the twin tropes. I'm trying to think of examples and I cannot figure any out right now. I had it written down somewhere and somewhere else. But yeah, so readers on TikTok in particular are using tropes to explain their experience of reading books, what the stories are about and what stands out. And of course, how one person experiences a story, what the take is from a story, it's very, very different person to person. So sometimes what stands out to one person isn't the same thing that stands out to another. That's the reason. That's how life is. That's how we as human beings are. And I've seen some critique because, of course, no one can say anything on the internet where there's a lot of other people, because we are people and we will find reasons to talk about things. So this has been criticized because it doesn't follow the convention of talking about genres. Now, genres are, as you probably know, the system, basically the way that books are presented and sold in bookstores in particular. Don't want you to quite quote me on this, because it's a long time since I read up on genres and what defines them and where they come from. But what I feel like I remember is that genres originate from booksellers and on Amazon in order for them to better present books to consumers, to us readers, because books are very, very different. There is a very simple system of fiction and non-fiction, pretty simple. But then you'll get into the details, like non-fiction. Are we talking about biographies, autobiographies? Are we talking about science? Are we talking about cookbooks? Are we talking about paleontology? What are we talking about? And when it comes to fiction, are we talking fantasy? Are we talking horror? Are we talking romance? And all its millions upon millions of subgenres, like, good lord. Are we talking thrillers? Are we talking crime novels? Procedurals? Are we talking science fiction or science fantasy? Like, what exactly are we talking about? But all those labels, these little boxes, they are genres. They are little boxes that make it easier for us to go to a particular part and say, I want this flavor. It's kind of like going to an ice cream shop and be like, I want vanilla, I want chocolate, I want hazelnut, I want banana, mint, hazelnut, blueberry, something or the other. Like, you get the point, so that is the roundabout way of talking about the difference between tropes and genres. Tropes are the elements, the turn of language, how phrases, is places, is people, is stereotypes. It's not stereotypes. It's how the plot evolves. It's building blocks. Genre, on the other hand, is the cover. Essentially. Basically. I've also been thinking a lot about what my favorite trope is, and I'm really finding it difficult to figure that one out. I don't know what my favorite trope is. I really like twin tropes. I do know that. I like anything to do with, people who are out there. Like, I think on TV tropes, and I'm getting into that, it's called Cloud Cuckoo. It's basically the person who is out there. I love those kind of characters. It's kind of like Nifty in Haspin Hotel. Definitely like Nifty in Haspin Hotel. She's definitely Cloud Cuckoo. She's like, out there. But yeah, it's kind of a headache for me to try and figure out what my favorite I know what my favorite genre is. I really like fantasy. But when it comes to tropes, I'm like, I don't quite know. So that's something that, I mean, I know it when I see it, but when I'm sitting here and trying to be all intellectual and talking about it, I'm like deer in headlights. So I don't know when I need to answer it. I mean, tropes are a lot of fun. They are like the building blocks of how we basically read books. And when we write things, when we write stories, it's so much fun to go and just, I'm not gonna say go by stereotype. I feel like that's more of a first draft. But it is fun to go by like certain things and work from there. I've been trying to remember which episode. So there's a podcast that you probably know about as well, called Writing Excuses. Now I will admit I binge listened to their first seasons and then I kind of dropped off. I started listening to something else and watching more YouTube and all that. But it is from one of the previous seasons. They were talking about like kind of this exercise where you set a timer because you need time. If you're gonna save yourself and actually have time to do anything else for the next 3 days, set a timer. Maximum 20 minutes, I believe. So you set a timer for like 20 minutes and you go on tvtropes.com, which is an extremely dangerous website because you will easily just lose time. You will lose time, you will lose sense of presence, of time, of urgency, of anything that you need to be doing. So you go on tvtropes.com, you set a timer and you go. You start with a trope and then you follow it. Just anything that strikes your fancy, you follow it. And after 20 minutes, you're done. You click off the website, you switch it off, anything. You're done. And I know I wrote this exercise down because I really enjoy it. But I can't remember if they said anything about you trying to write a story from it. But I would very much recommend that you do your best to try and see if you can't use the tropes that you do find and use them to build a story. And I mean, it's hit and miss. It's really hit and miss if you can actually use the tropes that you do find in order to build like a cohesive story. But it is doable and it's a lot of fun. So what was the purpose of this video? I don't know. I want to talk about tropes. I want to talk about TV tropes. I want to talk about these books because I really quite like them. They're not perfect. There are grammatical errors, but nothing that is terrible. There's no terrible, grammatical. Can't remember the English words. There's nothing that really like brings you out. It shouldn't. You should be able to just ignore it and carry on. There's nothing serious. There's like no serious errors in these books. Maybe formatting, maybe some repeating, maybe something with the language, but it's nothing that you can't ignore. I would recommend these books because it's tropes and I love them. The first one is the trope Thesaurus, which is, I do like them. I like them. The second, which I actually read third, is the horror. I like it. Romance. I like it. It's the thickest one as well. And I like them. It's tropes. I love them. I also love TV tropes. There have been days upon days that I have lost to that website. And I do not regret it because it's TV tropes. So yeah, hands up. I just really hope that you maybe gain something from this video. I don't know what. I just really want to sit down and have a chat about tropes because tropes are interesting. I also really like Gay For You. For some reason, I love Gay For You. This is very strange for an asexual to be like. Maybe because there's so often so strong emotion and connections between two people who are like, for example, enemies. But just the chemistry between them can be so raw and so strong. It's just like I could understand why you two would get together for at least a little while. I do have to be in agreement with Jennifer Hilt with one thing. I do like Secret Baby for a lot of plot twists. Secret Baby is often so just adds so much spice and flavor to a story. I'm not going to mention any, but there are like Agatha Christie novels. Yeah, but yeah, there are a few that are like it adds so much. But yeah, hopefully you had fun watching me ramble about a little bit about tropes because tropes are fun. And hopefully I will see you again in some other video of mine. And until then, hopefully you take care and see you later. Okay, bless.